Hi, my name's Chris. This is a CryEngine asset creation tutorial for the game Miscreated by Uncharted Interactive. This is going to be the first video in a series of videos. This one's going to be the project overview and the base mesh creation. So let's get started. The first thing to any asset you're going to need to do is to plan your asset first. If you don't plan it, then you will just fall apart in the end. You'll lose motivation. So the first thing you need to do is find reference. As soon as you find reference, touch it, take photographs of it, sketch it. Even if you can't draw, I find that it helps to just try and draw it out. This way you understand the shape, and when it comes for time to transfer that shape into 3D, it's much easier. Learn about what makes the object work and how it works. So, for example, if you're modeling an assault rifle, you should probably know how gas-operated rifles work, where the rounds go, where the magazines go, where the moving parts are, how everything works. Always discuss it with your team. You don't want to be doing work that you don't need to be doing, and if somebody's done something, they can offer you advice that you would have known before. And write it all down, make a list so you can constantly refer back to those lists. So the project over here is going to be the creation of a modular construction piece used with multiple other parts to form a variety of structures and base defenses. These parts will be used in the construction system within Miscreated. We're going to fit multiple boards onto one texture sheet. This texture sheet is going to be 2048 by 1024. It'll probably be down-resed for now, but for the development process we'll work at that, and we'll down-res if we need to. There's going to be a diffuse, a spec with a gloss in the alpha, and a normal map. This is all subject to change depending on optimization, but currently right now this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to use a single material for all construction assets and multiple sub-materials. So we'll have one construction material with sub-materials for the boards, the posts, the metal, the decals, and so on and so forth. So in Modo we're going to create a 2 meter in length board, and the width and height are going to be, we can set those up, we'll just match what our current assets are. It doesn't really matter too much because we want it to look a little organic. The origin needs to be 0, 0, 0 so we can accurately place and rotate those items. We're going to have to fit the UVs onto an existing UV set that we have already set up and ready to go. We're going to check the texel ratio to make sure everything looks good when we get it into the engine. We're going to set it up for zBrush. We're going to use GoZ to send it over to zBrush, and then we're going to set it up within zBrush, and that is going to be this video, and the next video will cover sculpting. Alright, so let's get started right now. Alright, so now we're inside of Modo, and we are going to create a 2 meter board. So real quick, I just want to show you the scene here. I got a bunch of other stuff that's hidden currently right now. We're only going to work with the boards here. So we got a 4 meter, a 3 meter, a 2 meter, a 1.3 meter, and a 1 meter. What we're going to be doing is we're creating the 2 meter because the 3 meter and the 4 meter are already done, and in the end we're going to get a result that is something similar to this board here. Now this is within Modo, so the normals are strong and the specular is not really set up, but once we get into Marmoset you'll see what it looks like. So this was all sculpted with reference. Alright, so let's just go ahead and create a new one by hitting N, and we'll call this board underscore 2 meters. Naming conventions are very important, especially if you have to share your file with anybody else, because if somebody opens up your file and you got a whole bunch of misnamed meshes and folders and things everywhere, it just gets very frustrating. So make sure you keep everything organized and you name everything exactly what it is, and constantly go through and do scene organization before you close out. So board 2 meters, let's move it up into our boards, and let's close our board 2 meter here because this is something that I already have set up a while ago. This is what we're going to be copying here. So the board 2 meters, we're going to go in basic tab and let's pull up our work plane by hitting Control and 1, and so I can do Control Grid work plane. And let's set it up. From there we're going to turn on our dimensions tool, so view dimensions tool. We're going to select our box tool and we're going to drag out our 2 meter box. So let's go to 2 meters. Oops. and put in 2 meters. Okay, so we'll jump to the front view and bring that to right here. Turn on wireframe by hitting Control 1 and swiping to toggle wireframe. Let's turn all of our other meshes, put them into wireframe by hitting Control 6 and wireframe, so we can get an idea of our dimensions here, and we'll just eyeball it. Alright, so there we go. So let's turn off our grid and our work plane and make our meshes invisible, and now let's go ahead and create our UVs. By default they're set up as texture. We're going to rename this to UV1 because that's the UVs I have set up for all my other boards. So let's jump into our UV tab here. You can see our UVs are kind of useless right now, so let's make everything invisible, and let's get rid of this grid as well. Go ahead and select all of them, and we'll do what I did was I went to edges and I hit Alt-Shift-A to select all the edges, and we'll do an unwrap tool. Click in there, we'll click orient pieces, click OK, and now we're going to turn these big ones here, we're going to turn them right. These guys are going to go up top here. These guys are going to go here. We'll adjust these sizes in a minute when we check the pixel ratio. This guy is going to go here. And this guy is going to go here. Okay, now I have an image set up here already. It's a 2048 by 1024 image that I've been working on here. So you can see the diffuse for the boards and the normal map for the boards. Now this is a 2048 by 1024 texture, so we need to set up Modo to tell it to do that. So we'll go to Options, Properties, and just check that and check it back on. You use image aspect ratio, and that'll set up our image to the correct size. So now we're just going to try to match these up here. To be similar to all the other UVs here. Okay, so now our UVs are all fit. We're going to hit Control S to save, and they're all set up. Okay, so real quick we can check our textile ratio by comparing it to the other ones. So we'll set it to invisible. Alright, so let's check our board 2 meter here. Alt-Shift-A to select all the polygons. We'll hit M and apply the board's material. Okay, so I already have a shader set up for the boards here, so it's got a diffuse and a normal map set up. So that's why the normals are showing there. No diffuse there currently. My smoothing is set to 180, and I have an edge smoothing script that does that for me. As soon as I select setup, it'll affect your material. And also there's a script on here which does harden UV borders, which we're going to need for the normal maps to bake correctly. So we'll hit harden UV borders, and you see that gives us nice hard edge mesh because all of our UVs are on separate islands. So now if we cycle through, we can see that these are all kind of similar shape and size. Let's make sure that it is centered, which it is not, so we'll go board 2 meters. Turn on snapping by hitting X, hit F11 to bring up the options, select grid, and we'll just snap it into the center here, make sure it's right up top there. Looks good to me. Save again. Alright, now let's check our texel ratio. So we'll jump back into the shader here, and we'll add a texture exactly for checking texel resolution. So again, this is strike folders. We'll go to our texture library here, and I have a UV mapper right here, texture. So you can put on there. And we'll go ahead and check all of them by making them all the same as the active. And we can see that they pretty much all have the same texel ratio. What the texel ratio is, these little squares should all be the same. So if you want to check it out. We can do it like this. So you can see they all look pretty much the same. The squares should be the same size. The grids within those squares should be the same size. Same with the end pieces. Everything looks to be in order. And that's how you can check your texel ratio. So we want all the boards to be exactly the same size. We don't want anything to be bigger than the other one. However, sometimes for weapons and so forth, you may want a piece to actually take up more pixel space, more texel resolutions, since it'll be closer to the viewer, like things like charging handles and aim sights and stuff like that will need higher texel resolution. Okay, so now that we got that all set, let's get rid of this image here. Control-Z. Get rid of this image here. Right click on it and click delete. Alright. So now what we're going to have to do is turn off snapping, hit X. Now what we're going to have to do is set it up for zBrush. If we hit tab, we can see kind of what it's going to look like when we get into zBrush. And it'll subdivide it completely. And that is obviously not what we want. So we need to set up edge loops around here. So first we need to set up some going this way. And I want a nice even sculpting surface here. So when I subdivide, it'll subdivide evenly. And what I figured out is it needs to be, each one needs to be about 250 millimeters across. So we'll go here, we'll set it uniform, we'll set the count at something like 3. Let's see how that gives us. So 250 millimeters each one should give us a good sculpting resolution. So that's how we set that. And now we want to set going the opposite way as well. So Alt-C again, and this time we'll set it to symmetry and set it to 2. And we'll set them like this so we get a nice even edge. We'll do the same here. Alt-C again to drag out, and we'll only set 1 and we'll set it to 3. Bring that over in the corner there. The same thing here. And now when we hit tab, turn off the warp plane and the wireframe. Now when we hit tab, this is what we want. A nice smooth edges to subdivide the ZBrush. Okay, so now we got our edges here. You can see what they look like. We're going to make sure our so now we'll select, go back to the model tab, we'll select the board 2 meters here. And we'll hit this Go Z button here right there, and what that's going to do is it's going to pop us into ZBrush and open up ZBrush, so we'll hit Go Z. Alright, so ZBrush has popped up. And we'll hit the comma button to close that light box top there. We'll just drag it out on the viewport, hit T, and Shift F, and we can see that we got that's our board here. Alright, so let's open up our tab here. Let's open up our geometry. See your active points right up here in the top. And let's just go ahead and start subdividing it. We'll get to about 2.26 million. 9 million is too much. I could drop down, Shift D, delete the higher one. 2.26 million should be just enough. Shift F to close that again. And what we're going to want to do here, first thing, is go ahead and set a morph target right away, just in case we mess anything up. And go to File, Save As, navigate to our pieces. We'll save this as board _ 2D. Alright, so in the next tutorial is when we will start actually sculpting. We'll use a spotlight texture to check out and use my box, and we'll do some sculpting. So stay tuned for the next tutorial.